Good morning everyone. Today I want to talk to you about the dangers of using filters. Let's go. Alright guys, welcome to a new episode. Today is a filtered episode because we're talking about those bad boys, and I don't want to talk about why they're so amazing. I actually want to talk about all the danger, what's bad with them, why you should not use filters. And we'll be digging into ND filters, polarizing filters and UV filters. So I'll share with you the dangers and when not to use them. Alright, before we get started, before we get super excited about filters, I have a huge announcement to make. If you've ever thought of taking your photography to the next level, if you're struggling, learning by yourself, the 30-day adventure to great photos is starting again in a few days. The whole program launches again. This is the session number 2. I had great feedbacks on the first one. So if you want to take your photography daily to the next level, if over 30 days you really want to progress and have daily exercises and daily challenges to push you further, this program is for you. We're going to be digging into all the aspects of photography, whether it's composition, whether it's storytelling, whether it's settings, all that. But the most important is that it's broken down into tiny bits of content that I think are amazing to really learn. I deconstructed the way I learn and gave it to you guys. So if you're interested, link is below. I'll see you on the other side. It would mean the world to me if you sign up, or if you sign up one of your friends. All right, let's get back to filters and start with danger number 1. All right guys, the first biggest danger is to end up with uneven skies because of polarizing filters. There's something to understand about polarizing filters is that they cut out the reflection of the light, but only on certain angles, meaning that depending on how the light is entering your lens right now, you will be cutting out the light or you won't. And that's crucial to understand, because when you're shooting wide angle and you're looking at a sky, the sky is not evenly lit. You know, some parts are going to have more reflection in the skies than other. And that's even more true around sunset time, for example, where if you turn the polarizing filters, you will realize that around the sun it gets really bright, it stays really bright, but on the other side it gets really dark. And the problem when you're shooting with polarizing filters around sunset is you end up with those uneven skies. And even if you're in full daytime and you're shooting really wide, for example on top of the ocean, then suddenly you realize that some parts of your image are have deep blues and the other part have very light blue. And that's something you want to be mindful of when you're shooting with polarizing filters. If you either end up in one of those situations, maybe you want to shoot a little bit more narrow or use a telephoto objective and then put a filter on it to avoid having uneven sky. Oh yeah, hope that helps. Alright, second danger is with ND filters. And ND filters are my second favorite filters. My first ones being polarizing filters. The problem with those bad boys is that you can get color cast. What do I mean by that? Well, first let's rewind and remember what an ND filter is. It's basically cutting out a ton of light so that you can shoot at slower shutter speeds, either for long exposure or in order to keep your shutter speed at double the frame rate for video. Oh yeah, so when you put it on top of it, oh, everything gets good, dark. I know, that's pretty cool. That's all it does. Now the way the manufacturers will make them has a huge incidence on your photos, because some of them have very strong color cast. And the stronger the ND filter, the more color cast you might have, because they really have to make a glass darker, and there are not that many ways you can do it. Some of them use some kind of coloring on top of it, which makes your photo have magenta tints or other tints. And I remember I had cheaper versions of those filters, ND 1000, ND 100,000, and when I wanted to do daytime long exposure, I always felt that my photos had some color cast. And that's why some people will pay a lot more money for good filters. So it's very important that whenever you're buying a filters, you make sure that the color cast is minimum, so that you don't have to do too much color correction in post-processing. There is another way also you can work around it, is putting the filter on and then using a gray card to actually get an accurate information on your white balance. But at the end of the day, all those tricks will not replace better quality filters. So you see landscape photographers with very expensive filters. We're talking about $300 or even $600 or even more. It's so important to keep that color cast as low as possible. You want it to feel like a dark glass, not as if you had looked through a rainbow. Oh yeah. And now the last type of filters and the problems that may arise are for UV filters. UV filters are great for protective purposes. But here's my problem with UV filters. Imagine you buy a $2,000 lens, which might happen one day, and then you put a UV filter on it that is fairly cheap. You're literally putting lipstick on a pig. It doesn't work. You need to have really good UV filters if you want to use them for protective purposes, because UV filters are going to change a bunch of things when you're putting them on. First of all, they're going to change the way the light enters your lens and the angle it's going to enter at, meaning it will change the type of flare, it will change the form of the flare, and in some cases it might even affect your bokeh. In some cases, I'm saying. And that's usually when you're on the lowest quality of UV filters. Now, there are cases where UV filters will be great, especially when you're shooting in the dust, when you're shooting in sand, you might be going to a koala festival. Then you want to put on a UV filter on and then tape around your UV filter with the plastic bag so your camera is fully covered and only the UV filters is taking the hit, and then you can get rid of it if it's not recoverable. But remember, if you're buying an expensive lens and you're putting a cheap UV filter on it, you're gonna have problems. It's not gonna look the same. And even if you get a good one, even if it's an expensive one, I don't like the way it changes my light flares and my light leaks. So I try not to use them anymore. I used them a lot in the past, but nowadays I either have a polarizing filter screwed on or ND filters most of the time, so I felt that it was more cumbersome. Also, whenever I'm shooting with my best glass, I really want to get the most of that at best glass. I want to feel like I paid $2,000 for an amazing lens, and I don't want to put something that's going to affect its quality even by a little bit. And that's exactly why I wanted for you to be informed a little bit about the drawbacks about those filters. Alright, I hope you have enjoyed that video that was shot here in Rangiora in the Tuamotu Atolls in Polynesia. It's a place lost in the middle of nowhere. It's kind of unique. I feel like literally I'm lost in the middle of nowhere. So it's really cool. It's my last day here. With that being said, guys, if you're coming, if you're joining the 30-day adventure to great photos, welcome to the adventure. It means the world to me that you guys are joining along and that you will commit to yourself to taking better photos. And with that being said, guys, get out there, go shoot, try something different, try something new. I will see you in the next episode. Oh, and obviously, if you're not subscribed, hit that SUBSC button, ring that notification bell. I'll see you on the next episode. Bye.